Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder how singers use their bodies to make their music even more powerful? Well, this new study dives deep into that amazing connection. Imagine a singer on stage, not just with their voice, but their hands are moving. Their head is nodding, their whole body is part of the song. It's beautiful, but how much of that movement is actually connected to the notes they're singing? Scientists are curious about this too. They call it gesture, vocal co-structuring. It means how our hand and head movements work together with our voice. In simple terms, this study asks, when a singer sings a certain musical phrase, how do their hand and head movements relate to that phrase? And do different singers move their bodies in different ways while singing? To find out, researchers looked at Karnatak music performances from South India. This is a type of music where singing is really important. And singers often use a lot of expressive hand and head movements. Think about it. When we talk, we often use our hands without even thinking. This is called co-speech gesturing. The idea here is that when people sing, they might do something similar, but perhaps even more coordinated with the music. Scientists have noticed this for a long time. They've seen that gestures can sometimes match musical parts, but they wanted to go beyond just noticing it and actually measure it. So they decided to study 3 expert Karnatak singers. They recorded their performances for many hours, capturing both the sound of their singing and the movement of their bodies. For the movement part, they used special equipment, like a motion capture system, which is like what you see in movies to create animated characters. This system tracked exactly where their hands and heads were moving in 3D space. They also recorded the singing with high-quality microphones so they could analyze the sound. Now, how do you actually compare music and movement? That is where it gets clever. The researchers first identified small musical phrases, sort of like short melodic ideas or motifs within the singing. They used a smart computer program to find these repeated musical patterns. Then, for each of these musical phrases, they looked at 2 things. How similar were the sounds of different phrases, and how similar were the movements of the gestures that happened at the same time? They used a method called dynamic time warping, or DTW, which is a fancy way of comparing 2 time series, like a melody or a movement, even if they aren't perfectly in sync. It is like stretching or squishing parts of the time series to find the best match. So, they compared every pair of musical phrases and calculated how similar they sounded. Then, they compared every pair of gestures that went along with those phrases and calculated how similar their movements were. Their big question was this: do musical phrases that sound more alike also tend to have gestures that move more alike? They hypothesized that yes, they would. And what did they find? Well, it turns out there is a pretty strong connection. Across all the singers, when 2 musical phrases sounded similar, the gestures that accompanied them also tended to move similarly. This means the singers weren't just randomly moving their bodies. Their movements were structured and patterned, and this structure was related to the music they were singing. This is super interesting because it suggests that the music itself is guiding or constraining how the singers move. It's like the melody is setting the rhythm or the shape for the gestures. They even did a test where they randomly shuffled the movements and the music. When they did that, the connection disappeared. This proved that the link wasn't just because the same singer was performing, but that the specific sounds and movements were truly related. Now here is where it gets even more nuanced. While there is a general connection, each singer had their own unique way of doing it. Some singers showed stronger links between loudness and their head movements, others between pitch changes and their hand speed. It is like each singer has their own signature style of moving with the music. They also looked at whether the movements could actually predict aspects of the singing. Unsurprisingly, they found that they could, to some extent, the combined movements of the head and hands together were better at predicting certain sound features, like the change in pitch or how loud the singing was, than just listening to the sound alone. This highlights that the body and voice are working as a truly integrated system. This research allows us to see these connections visually. They created a cool interactive dashboard where you can explore the performance data. You can click on different musical phrases and see the corresponding gestures, and the system helps you see which ones are similar in both sound and movement. This is really important because it suggests that meaning in music performance isn't just in the sound itself, but in the way sound and movement are woven together. The gestures aren't just decoration, they are part of how the music is conveyed and understood. It's like a richer language of expression. Think of it like how we organize our thoughts. We don't just have independent ideas floating around. Our thoughts and movements are connected. In music, the singer's body and voice seem to be constrained by each other, creating these complex, beautiful synergies. This is like when a master craftsman doesn't control every single muscle, but works with natural movements that are efficient and expressive. What's really cool is how this study shows that the way singers move is not random. They each develop specific patterns or co-structuring profiles that make their performance unique. It suggests that the body in music performance is not just an instrument, but an active participant in creating meaning. Now, while this study gives us a fantastic glimpse into this connection, there are always things to consider. The researchers use computer algorithms to find the musical phrases, and while these are good, they might not always perfectly line up with what a music expert would pick. Also, they studied only 3 singers. So, while their findings are very strong for these individuals, we can't say for sure that all Karnatak singers do exactly the same thing. But this is a great starting point. Future research could compare how these co-structuring profiles change as singers learn and develop, or even test how audiences perceive these connections. Can listeners understand the music better when they also see the structured gestures? Overall, this research brilliantly shows us that music performance is a deeply multimodal event. It is not just about what you hear, but what you see and feel from the performer. The way a singer uses their hands and head is not just an add-on, it's an integral part of the musical message, creating a richer, more complete experience for everyone. It is a reminder that our minds and bodies are constantly working together in amazing ways, even when we're making art. So that's a deep dive into the connection between singing and moving. What do you think? Have you ever noticed this in performances? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it interesting, and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more mind-blowing science. See you next time.